those of you tuning in now, we will be discussing how absolute power corrupts absolutely. Let's find out the true answer behind this with our first guest speaker, Cady Heron, from the famous movie Mean Girls.
It's Katie.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. What is the power struggle between you and the main group of plastics, so-called plastics?
The Plastics are a group of girls at our school that have power because of their popularity. Their power definitely corrupted me, the whole school, and all of them. It really corrupted me when I being obsessed with being powerful, and their power definitely corrupted the whole school. They all turned against each other. It was awful.
Okay, thank you. How does the economic status of your fellow plastics affect their additional attitude towards everyone?
Their wealth definitely makes them think that they're better and more powerful than everyone else, which is an awful thing, but definitely it makes them think that their economic status is very high.
Do you think if the plastics didn't have the amount of money they do, they would still be as popular?
No, definitely not. Their popularity definitely is something because of the amount of money they have. So if they didn't have the money, they wouldn't have as much beautiful stuff that they do have, which makes them more popular.
So there was one scene in the movie where you won Queen of the Spring Fling, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
And you got up on stage and you got the crown, and then you broke the crown and threw it to multiple different people in the audience. So what was the breaking of the crown? What did it symbolize?
It definitely symbolized me wanting to share my power, because at this point I had a lot of power, and when you are too powerful you begin to corrupt yourself and others, so I thought it was time for me to share my power. So it just symbolized me like breaking little bits of this object that was very powerful in our school that had corrupted some girls just to be able to wear this object. So it just symbolized me making everyone equal at the dance.
So what is your opinion on if you think absolute power corrupts absolutely?
Oh, definitely. It definitely does. Because me and Regina George being so powerful, we definitely caused the corruption of the school and of ourselves. It first started with me and her just having control over our group, which led to having control over the whole school. And because of this powerful thing, we thought we could do anything, and we created this burn book. And it had all of our nasty comments about these other girls, and it just led to us thinking we were so powerful that we could say these things, and it ended up corrupting the school and then corrupting me and Regina George personally.
Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So our next guest here is Antigone from Antigone. So Antigone, what is your power struggle with the King Creon?
Wow. My two brothers, both killed in battle. One of them was allowed a proper burial, and the other one, Polynices, was not allowed a proper burial. So I just decided that I would take it upon myself to bury him, because that is just our family tradition, to bury our family members so they wouldn't be stuck wandering the earth for the rest of their life. But he would not let me, and I got in a lot of trouble for it.
So Antigone, how did your social and economic status infect you in a positive or negative way?
Well, I think it definitely affected me in a positive way, because if I was just some peasant off the street, then Creon wouldn't even have thought twice about killing me because I broke the law. But since I am a princess, he took that into consideration and decided to give me more of a leeway and listen to my opinions of what I thought about his law. So I really do think that my political and economic status really did help me when he was determining what to do with me.
So, why did you choose to go against the most powerful person in your city?
Well, I didn't really take power into consideration because I just wanted to do what was right for my brother, and I think ultimately what my dad would have wanted. Yeah, just to give my brother a proper burial and just to respect him after he was dead, no matter what the king said.
So how did Creon's actions show that he was corrupt?
Well, his actions show that he was corrupt because everything he did was only for himself and to sustain his power. I think he did this because he didn't want anyone to disrespect him and see that he could have less of effect as being king if he just didn't go along with his set rules, you know? And this ultimately led to him putting me in a tomb, and then my fiance, which is his son, Haman, thought I was dead, so he killed himself, and then my mom killed herself, and then my sister's just really sad now, and his power just, he took it too much to heart and just didn't do what was in the interest for the best of his whole city.
Sounds like a terrible man.
He is.
So thank you for coming to this interview and
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. So our next guest speaker is Ralph from the famous book Lord of the Flies. So Ralph, what can you please describe your power struggle with you and Jack?
Yeah, so Jack, all he wanted to do was play around and like kill pigs and sometimes the occasional human, and I wanted to get rescued and keep a fire going, but he did not, and eventually he swayed the other kids to his side because they all wanted to just have no responsibility also.
So going off of your last answer, why did the social struggle between you and Jack occur?
You know, I think it occurred because he had so much power already with the hunters and being in charge of all the food that we would get. And I think that the more power you get, the more corrupt he got. So the more he got, the more he wanted. And so the more he would fight me for the control of the tribe. So the power corrupted him more and more.
So the famous conch of the story, the conch that you discovered near the very beginning of the book, how did you use that conch to prevent corruption?
Well, so the more power someone has, the more they would get corrupt on the island. And that's why I was not corrupt like Jack, because when I was leading, I used the conch, which gave everyone a bit of the power, and so I did not become corrupt. Whereas when Jack was leading, there was no conch, and he just, you know, had all the power. I did not have absolute power because of the conch, and so no one became corrupt with it.
So if you got to start over, what would you do differently to prevent the power struggle that occurred between you and Jack?
I would give Jack less power, because the reason that everything got crazy is that he became corrupt and everyone else became corrupt when they got more power. So I would keep everyone not having any power, and use the conch always, and not give him power over the hunters or anything else.
Interesting. Alright, well thank you, Ralph, for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
No problem.
So last but not least, we have Renaud Lizer?
Call me Luz.
Luz, alright. The cartoonist from the Charlie Hebdo magazine. Hebdo. Alright.
Oui, oui.
So Luz, what is the power struggle that is going on in Paris?
Well, you see, I am the cartoonist for the Charlie Hebdo magazine. It is a satirical magazine, which basically means that we post and publish funny things, not legit or real. And we did a little cartoon of the face, depicting the face of Muhammad, and in the Muslim religion, that you cannot show the face of Muhammad. It's against their religion. So they were angry, and unfortunately, they did come in and have an attack, and some innocent French people perished. And now there is conflict there, yes. There is conflict just between the French and the Islam extremists. And it was just the extremists. The Islam religion, only a small portion are the extremists, and the extremists are the ones that carried out the attack.
Right. So Luz.
Luz. Yes, yeah, Luz.
Alright. So Luz, why do you risk the lives of many for putting a laugh in your magazine?
Well, you see, obviously I did not know that drawing that would cause this attack, but I think that in France and everywhere in the world, we have the freedom to write, publish, and say what we want. And I think it was wrong of the extremists to, it was obviously wrong, but I think that it was wrong of them to come in and attack, but I think they should respect that we have the freedom and the ability to publish what we want.
So I can imagine that you were going through a pretty big power struggle with these Muslim Muslim extremists.
Extremists.
Yeah. And so could you go into a little depth of what this power struggle is, and is it a power struggle that you can win?
Well, this is a very tough question. Well, let me start off by saying that the extremists who carried out this attack are only a small portion of the Islam religion as a whole. And this conflict is not started in Paris with this attack. It's been going on for decades. For example, the 9/11 attack in America, that's one of the many attacks. And this struggle is not only physical with death, but also cultural with the Western powers of America and the Europeans. The Western more versus the Middle East, and how the Middle East do not want to adapt and have that, they do not support or like the Western culture. And can we win this? Well, it's going to be a long and tough struggle because these extremists are not bound to one country. They're spread out and they're everywhere. And so it's going to be tough. I'm optimistic and that we can win, yes. But it's going to be long, but I think we can.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure having you. Yes.